This year marks the 80th anniversary of VJ Day, and with me is Councillor Amanda Grimshaw to talk about it. In fact, Mayor Councillor Amanda Grimshaw. Congratulations.
Thank you
You
very
started
much.
your new role just a few months ago.
Yes, just in May, and I'm really enjoying myself. I don't stop smiling. I'm either smiling because I'm meeting so many wonderful people, or I'm crying, but crying with emotion because, you know, a lot of the experiences and things that I'm doing are really, really wonderful and emotional. So I'm either crying or laughing, but it's all for the right reasons.
It's all for the right
Yes,
reasons. And
yes.
in fact, this particular event will probably involve a lot of happiness and sadness. Happiness because it marks the official end of the Second World War, right, on the 15th of August 1945. But also there's a lot to commemorate, a lot of tragedy, a lot of sadness. And all this is happening this Friday, and you are heavily involved. So tell me, what?
So this Friday we're having a civic service. So I'm the Cangleton councillor, and Father David of St Helens is my chaplain for my mayoralty year. But with my Armed Forces champion hat on, I'm obviously doing the VJ Day events as well. So we're having a really quite small, sort of intimate, tailored service, and we are being honoured with an extremely wonderful guest who was an internee. So it should be really lovely, and we've got the Deputy Lieutenant coming in, and I've got my cadets are coming as well. So it should be really fitting, honouring tribute to remember those that that lost their lives and those that came back with never fully recovered, really.
Absolutely. So VE Day
Yes.
is so much more well known and probably much more marked than VJ Day. Tell me a little bit about VJ.
Okay, so take for example this year it's the 80th. So the government put aside lots of money, and they they did massive displays and shows and events and things for VE Day, but VJ Day is much sort of tailored and more quieter, and I think that's because it's linking in with the atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
So VJ stands for the victory
in Japan. So obviously that was a horrible thing to happen, but it did bring an end to the war. So it sort of dampens down sort of how you actually pay remembrance and respect on VJ Day. But it's really important that it's not forgotten, because the figures of people that were involved is massive. And some of those people are still alive. They're still with us. Their families are still alive, and they face such harsh, brutal treatment in the Far East that they never really recovered.
And not just army people, not just troops, right?
No, there was civilians as well. So there was 130,000 civilians were interned during the war in the Far East, of which 50,000 were women, 50,000 were men, 45,000 were women, and there were 40,000 children. From all of the Allied nations. So, there was an awful lot of people. If you then think there was 190 army people, captured as well, soldiers, Air Forcemen, sailors. So it affected an awful lot of people. And the difference was when they came back at the end of VJ Day, there was no sort of national, there was on the day itself, but their return wasn't sort of celebrated like it was in Australia, for example. So in Australia, when they had nurses that had been captured that they thought they'd lost and they got back, people lined the streets and threw big parties, and I think it was more quieter here.
The word forgotten is actually often mentioned by people who may be expected to be remembered. So what you're doing on Friday is very much to negate that. And
you have to negate that, but also if you speak to, for example, the survivor that we've got coming on Friday, she speaks not only of her experiences in the Far East, but she speaks of things like the Korean War. And she basically is of the opinion, which has been repeated to me a lot, that they are forgotten in sort of national and public commemoration. So it's really important that we actually sort of, give them the respect that they deserve.
So tell me about her. Anne, is it Borden?
Her name is Anne Borden, and she's 96. She lives in Hove, and she's a remarkable lady. She's very graceful, very beautiful, very articulate. And I went to see her, and I spent 3 hours, and it still wasn't long enough. She's very articulate, and her story has never really been told. She was in Lungwa camp.
She was interned with her family.
She was interned with her dad and her mum, and that was the camp that was portrayed in the film Empire of the Sun. So when we talk of history, it is his story. So I think that what I'm basically seeing is that some of the treatment was so brutal that I don't think women were encouraged or able to often tell the whole truth for fear it would upset relatives. So I feel that this is a great opportunity as times have moved on and women are now sort of more expected and more free to give their version of events of what happened. I think this is why it's important we focus on it, to get the woman's side of the story.
And of course, there are fewer and fewer.
Fewer and fewer. I mean, we're very lucky. She was 12, I think, and she's now 96, and it's very.
And she lives in Hove.
She lives in Hove. That she's in such good health is amazing, and she's very, very, very keen to share the story, to raise awareness of what went on in the Far East, and to make sure it's not forgotten. That sacrifice has got to be remembered.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else is planned for Friday?
So we're doing that on Friday. I think nationally, the Prime Minister is going to the Arboretum with the Feed Power Association is going to be there. And then on the Sunday, we're having, there's another very small service being held in the city, which is sort of more of a more private service. And particularly important, I did put a shout out through the council to say that I wanted people with personal connections to VJ Day to come forward, and we've had some lovely responses.
Oh, really?
I wanted those people to be involved in the service itself. You know, people that have got a real, genuine, actual connection. You know, it could have been a father, an uncle, a grandfather, or yourself, or one, you know, themselves as an interned person. So that was really important to me, that they get a chance.
And obviously it falls on the 80th anniversary.
Yes.
Which is a particularly important one. Just quickly, I'm interested to know what other things you've been up to since you started.
Okay, so we've been doing lots. I mean, I've been all over the city. I've been to absolutely Gaymen's Chorus is fantastic. I've really opened blue plaques. You name it, I've done it. I've been to visit lots of charities. I'm going to see Les Mis at the Theatre Royal tomorrow night. I'm opening IKEA this week as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, so I'm doing some really wonderful stuff. But the other thing that I'm really proud of, Brighton and Hove City Council is part of the Employers Recognition Scheme for the Armed Forces Covenant. And obviously I've been the Armed Forces Champion for about 2.5 years. And I'm very happy and proud to announce that we are now receiving the Gold Award for our commitment to the armed forces. So yeah, that basically is what it does, is it ensures that as an employee, all of our policies ensure that if you have served, you are served, or you're part of a serving family, or a veteran, or a cadet, that you're never put at a disadvantage through your service. So it extends across the range of housing, education, you know, it covers every area of policy. So I'm extremely proud to say that we've finally got our Gold Award.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to VJ Day.
Yeah.
If people want to find out more about it, is it advertised
It's advertised on the council website, but I will say, because St Helens is quite small, it's invitation only to the church service. But after the church service in the community centre, we're having like a talking history museum. So we're basically we've got just 3 councillors involved, a member of council staff, and a member of the public, who've all written in, including Anne. And we've also just found out this morning that the organist from St Helens, her mother was interred in a camp as well. So it's a really small world. So we're going to have people sitting there sharing their stories. You can get tea and you can get cake, and you can go up and speak to them and look at their artefacts and their pictures and learn about their memories. So it should be lovely. Really, people are really welcome to come to that if they can't get to the service themselves. If they have got a really strong connection and would love to come to the service, please write into the Mayor's office.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amanda, thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
If you have a local news story you would like to share with our viewers, please email us at news@thelatest.co.uk. Thank you for watching.